This is the Money Seed Podcast, where we discuss all things investing, plain and simple, the way it should be. Please remember, this show is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended to be investment advice. Guest today is Hugh Massie from DNAbehavior.com, and we are going to talk about money energy. Hugh, welcome to the show.
Yeah, great to be with you, Gabe. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Hugh, one of the things I noticed about your profile is that you like to talk about money energy. First things off, what is money energy?
Well, money energy is something really that's around us all the time, and we wake up with it, we go to sleep with it. It's ever present in a way through our life, but it's also what I think propels us forward. It's also part of the stress that every person has as well. But we have an unlimited. Every person has an unlimited potential or ability to make more money. That doesn't mean we're all going to be millionaires, I think, or billionaires. It's in the context of our own life, but within each of us, we have energy fields that are going to, if tapped, unleash us to do exponentially more. And I think it's just a matter of knowing that and then figuring out through who you uniquely are to go and work on that over the long term. There's no magic wand to this, Gabe. Making money in a way is a process, and part of that process is working on yourself.
So you mentioned the word unleashed. So maybe walk us through the steps. How can someone unleash their money energy?
Yeah. So the first thing is to understand your what we will call your own natural DNA behavior. And so that is understanding the core of who you are that is set from very early in life. It really is largely set at an 85% level by the time you're 3 years old. So if you can understand that and in fact, even what has caused you to be that way, whether it's some small component of genetics, but also it's the early life experiences. That's how you're wired. Look at the life experiences that you've had. So that's a bit of an internal review. But then out of that, there's really three, that as a starting point, as a baseline for your natural level of money energy, there's three core drivers. One is your ability to take risks. I think most people know that one. The second is your ability to set competitive goals. And not only set them, but also what's your ability to pursue them and stay on track. That often requires more things, though, as well, which I can address later. But around having a purpose, having clarity of that purpose, the right value sets, something you're passionate about, where you can direct that goal. But you've got to be relatively driven. And the third one, which people don't really want me to raise, but is absolutely fundamental to the whole thing, is your ability to save money. And that's probably the hardest behavior to change. There's lots of people out there with a passion, a purpose, a drive to do something out there. We all want to do good, do better. But in terms of wealth creation, improving your money energy, the ability to save and have financial disciplines is really important, but also it is actually quite hard for people to change. But it is, you can change it.
Yeah, I mean,
we're all hard in these areas and got different strengths with them, but that's your starting point. But then you can do things in your life, Gabe, to make changes to then unleash your money energy potential, which I can talk about. But I think you're going to ask me a question.
No, I was going to say, I like how you boiled it down to three simple things. And if I heard you correctly, it's risk tolerance, or the ability to take risks. It's the ability to set audacious goals, and the ability to save. And
yeah, they're the three key things, and that's your platform. And we're all wired with different propensities in those three areas. Some of us are high on all three. Some are high on one, and some are high on none. And I could say I know some people that are high on none of those three naturally, but they've gone and done okay out there for particular reasons. And I think, you know, what sets some people apart then is how they use what they've got. But I think it's about the relationships that you go and build in life. And once you know who you are, what you're good at doing, where you set a direction, it's about the relationship network that you build. And, you know, going out there and meeting the right relevant people. And a lot of the time I talk about people making quantum leaps in life. Quantum leaps in the quality of your life, but also in your money, energy, financial capabilities increase from meeting the right people. And it's interesting that when you get your purpose right, the direction right, those people start to show up more often and with higher quality. And you've got more discernment to choose or to pick out which ones are the right people. And so that's a fundamental point in all of this. I would say that, you know, your ability to build the right relationship network is key. It doesn't mean you have to have lots of relationships. It's finding the right ones.
So Hugh, I mean, at what point, like in your experience, at what point do people start to figure all that out, where they have the self-awareness, where they have the right relationships, they know what they're good at, they know what they have to work on? At what age do people start to figure all this stuff out?
Yeah, well, that's a very interesting question. You know, there's some people that figure this out when they're at school. They just know. But they may not be completely aware that that's what is going on. I think that then having a heightened awareness of it, or a heightened consciousness of what's making you drive forward or holding you back, then helps, as opposed to just doing it. And I think that some of those people will say, well, you know, they've gone through a personal development exercise later, and they'll say that consciousness, well, I sort of already knew that. Well, yes, but it's having real consciousness of it. So for some, it's earlier. I think that for a lot of people, it really is probably going to come later in their later 30s, to be honest. And it happens to start coming around your identity getting clearer. And, you know, I think in their 20s, early 20s, obviously you're still at college, you're trying for the entrepreneurial ones or the more curious ones, they're trying things out, they're exploring. You go and take a job like I did. I mean, I worked in a large corporate like you're doing now for 10 years, but I was doing stuff on the side from the time I left university. And that's really what was sort of that's also what drove me to the point of saying, okay, do I stay in the corporate career and climb the corporate ladder and be great at that? Or do I go and find where my real 10 out of 10 in life is, take the risks on the street? And, you know, do I want sort of have a 3-story building in the context of my life, or do I want to have a 10-story building? And I think that's the sort of choice that you make. Some of us are suited to it, others are not. But it's trying it out. But I think once you get into your later 30s, your intellectual capabilities grow on, your ability to meet people, engage with people, you're a bit more emotionally mature. And that's when your capability to innovate, generally speaking, is higher. That's for most people. As I said, for some it's earlier, and we've seen that with the odd unicorn out there. But for more people, it's probably at that later stage. There is no right time. I know for others, they found this in their 60s, and that's when they hit the home run. And I think that you just got to be viable and in the game of life, always having a go out there, you know, be decent, there's going to be some relationships at work. There's going to be some that don't. I think that sometimes that's just because people are on different growth paths, different interests. But that hopefully that sort of gives you an answer. Being concrete, probably for more in their late 30s, but some's going to be early and some's going to be later. And that's the way it is. And for some of us, you get a couple of bites at the cherry as well, right?
So Hugh, tell us a little bit more about your journey. You recently started a company called DNAbehavior.com. Tell us more about that company and the services you offer there.
Yeah, I think to just to go back a step is that I when I went to college, I did more of I did economics with accountancy degree. I followed the traditional path then into working in a large accountancy firm where I did auditing, and then most of the time providing tax advice. After 10 years of that, I left and set up a wealth management firm. And I wanted to provide clients with a highly personalized service, which I knew meant knowing more about them. And I'd already figured out that my success sort of in the accountancy world was, in particularly providing tax advice, was knowing how to provide that tax advice to different people. So some people needed it short and sweet with a diagram. This is the conclusion. Others wanted the 50 pages of research and analysis. You had to figure out the formula for whoever was going to read it and then pay for it, implement it, and write the check. And sometimes they were all different people. I learned that, and then I brought that into the wealth management business, that when I was meeting with families, you got different people. I think that, what the mistake a lot make is that they target the person they think is the check writer or the one who's got the money, which is often the male in a lot of financial advisors' perceptions. But these days, it's at least half the time it's the female. And as I found out a lot of the times, Gabe, it might be the male doing all the talking in the meeting, but actually it's the female who's the decision maker behind the scenes and actually controlling the wealth. So that's from a money control point of view, but you also have to understand the different personalities. You often have to understand the children. So that's what drove me to human behavior. But it was a friend of mine, though, who asked me a key question: Hugh, what are you really passionate about? And out spurted out of my mouth, I want to help people all over the world become financially self-empowered. And I went and thought about that for a while. What does that really mean? And I landed the plane on it was human behavior. I looked in my day journal. I've been writing about it for a few years. And I knew also that this was going to be the path to providing that personalized service. But on the other side, Gabe, I knew that money caused people stress. And so I had to help people become aligned to who they are in their life, in their work, in their relationships. And money is tied up in all of that. And that's what causes stress. And today, I would go further because we did a white paper on this. The stress of money also impacts people's health.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And we're all today about how do we be healthier to live longer. If you're going to be healthier to live longer, you also need to deal with money. Right? You need to deal with you need to deal with your mindset about it, and get aligned in all aspects of your life. And that's really what money energy is all about. It's not just making more. You can be Steve Jobs and have essentially made the most amount of money, or Bill Gates. Well, Jobs died early. Is that where you want to be? Gates, has not necessarily had a happy personal life. I think he's done great things out there in business. I think he's helped transform the world, but at what cost to himself? And but I think you can do all of those things and be aligned, live longer, and have happy relationships. And that's what it's about. And be healthier for longer. And, wrapped up in all of that is people are going to live longer, and they're going to need money for longer as well. So,
right.
So there needs to be some kind of change of thinking in this, and we need to be able to talk about these issues. And that's probably why I'm talking to you today.
But I agree with you completely. Financial health is a big part of overall health.
right? And I
Yeah.
think for some reason, people don't like to talk about their financial health. They don't like to talk about money. And maybe you can tell us a little bit more, because I think you have both bases covered. You understand the numbers from the accountant background.
Yeah.
You obviously understand the human psychology part of it. What is it that prevents people from talking about money?
Well, I think the thing is that when people start talking about money, that often it becomes I was going to use a bad word, but it sort of becomes a comparison match between people, right? It becomes an ego thing, and people are using money as a benchmark for how successful they are, or how successful they're not. And even though they may already be very successful, people are always comparing themselves to somebody else because of how much money they've got. And I think that's one of the greatest sources of misery. On one side, if you've got it, but on the other side, it's a source of misery if you don't have enough money to for the basics of life. That's a stress too. But I think that in terms of so people so there can be shame around money, or there can people just being over exuberant in terms of their ego. It's all problematic, and that shuts others down, or they don't want to talk about it. It becomes taboo. Even with your life partner or a business partner, people don't often want to talk about money because it's some kind of judgment on how successful they are, or a pressure. But you can. So if you talk about money head on in that way, it's going to bring up all those things immediately, and in a way shut the conversation down or take it to a negative place. However, if you start the conversation about what's your purpose in life, what's your identity, and I'm very big on identity. If you can establish the right identity in life, which goes back to, I think you can do that when you're in your late 30s. That's why I mentioned that before. When you can really get clarity of your identity, what your purpose in life is, what you're great at doing, make that the platform, then money is a vehicle for achieving that. And then you can have any conversation about it that you like. And you can set your measurement for success based on something that's not totally money driven. I think it's got to be rational. Like for me, it's more around human impact. How many lives can I impact every year? Through my business and me being Hugh, whether that's coming on podcasts, people completing DNA profiles, which is really what we do. And that's not just being consulted with by me. We've got lots of distributors, financial advisors, coaches using our system. There's, a few million people a year going through the platform. So for me, I feel like I'm impacting a lot of lives. That's my measurement stick. But I know financially that's rewarding. And really the end number doesn't matter much. And whether I've done better or worse than somebody else that's made money their number one focus doesn't matter, because I'm doing good things and I'm viable out there.
I agree with you. Yeah, the goals, financial goals and financial success and financial happiness should be a personal goal. I mean, if you start measuring yourself against other people, you will always find people who are doing better than you are. It's almost like a losing game at that point.
Yeah, and it's financial health as well, I think, which you alluded to before, which is not just financial health in terms of dollars in the bank, but it's financial health in terms of your actual physical health and your longevity. That's also very important to
absolutely,
to build that balance between all of them.
So tell us more. When did you start this journey, and how did this end up with DNAbehavior.com?
Yeah, I think that to be honest, the journey started off when I was a kid, because I was always, money was always on my brain. And I think some people in my family and sort of, I suppose my mother's friends and whatnot, sort of and grandmother and whatnot, who heard me talk from an early age, thought that it was more, Hugh just wants to make a lot of money. And that might have been a perception. But I think it was really more about the philosophy of money and what makes people tick, and why do they do certain things was actually really what was going on. And, of course, I went into the more rational career of accounting, and I'd never regret that, because I think it helps me day in, day out. But the journey really started in 2001 when I launched DNA Behavior. But as I said, I in some ways been doing some of this informally before that. But 2001 is when I started on the research journey. We built today what is a pretty powerful psychometric system that's been university validated. That's what took me from Sydney to Atlanta, where I now live. And, I stuck to the path, and this world of behavioral economics, behavioral finance has unfolded in that time. I was already on the journey with our theories. They haven't changed, but it happens how others have corroborated that. This field's getting talked more and more about, and people are realizing it is the difference between, it is a key difference in hyper-personalizing experiences for people, getting people to live better, etc. And that's I think that's the journey. And technology helps us a lot too, because we can do more to make this field be understandable by using and meaningful for people with real-time technology input.
On your website, I believe that people can go and get two different kind of scores. One is called, I think, a business DNA, and one is a financial DNA.
Yeah.
Tell us more. What are those two different scores, and how do people get their own?
They're all good question. They're both on the website. You can go to our homepage and get a trial. They're both from the same assessment system. So you answer the same set of questions, and one reporting. We're going to give you insights on your workplace behaviors and leadership behavior. The second is then we're going to give you insights on your financial behavior. Interestingly enough, we've just done a paper, Gabe, on leadership financial behavior, because your financial behaviors as a leader impact a company's performance. And we've shown now how, by doing a research study of every S&P 500 company and all of their CEOs and executives, how if you have the right financial behaviors, that will increase company profits. There is a direct correlation to that. But those same measurements are also pretty similar to that will increase your personal investment returns if you follow the right disciplines over a long enough period of time. As I said, there's no magic wand. You don't change all of this overnight and just make money overnight. It's a process. But if you follow the steps and the behaviors that are in those reports, it will happen.
And do you find that most of your clients are businesses or individuals?
Yeah, a lot of our direct clients tend to be businesses because that's who we market to. But all the people then there's all the teams that are completing it and are getting the benefit of this. And then we have a lot of financial advisors and coaches, and they're using our system so that they can essentially do this work with their individual clients. So that's how the consumer at the end of the day benefits. But we don't sit there as a retail service where we are got consumers ringing us up each day to go through the process, because it's been more set up that their coach or financial advisor would take them through the process, or a company trainer will.
Hugh, tell us about some of the success stories that you've had about people or companies going through the program. What was their feedback like? What are some of the changes they've seen?
Yeah, I think that when you take a company, it's been, for example, that they've seen a gap in their leadership team. And, in today's world with AI, it really does come down to there's potentially an innovation gap for some of the leadership teams. And when you think about it, that 45% of CEOs are out there now saying that we're not sure our company will be in existence in 2030. That's not very far away because of the change that's going on out there. And then we look inside the teams and we see that there is a lack of innovation in the right places and a capability to innovate. And that's where we're having success, is helping the leadership see that gap, or they haven't got the right competitive goal drives or ability to manage money. I think with the financial advisors that we work with, which is a lot, that's where our business started. Our success has been helping them understand the person sitting in front of them far more quickly, so that they can customize the experience out the gate and get that person, moving in the right direction and with a lot higher engagement and trust more quickly. That's been really the big win there, and we've just won an innovation award in that area in terms of the use of our technology to help an advisor connect more quickly with a client and get them set up on the right track much quicker.
Love it. All right, Hugh, tell us more about your book and about where people can reach out to you.
So there's a couple of books out there. There's one, Leadership Behavior DNA, that's more on the leadership track. And then there's Financial DNA, which is more understanding as an individual, or if you're an advisor, your financial behavior propensities and how you can use that to build a quality life. They're there on Amazon. You can also go to our website and click and you'll see those there. To learn more about me, there's just go to our DNA website or to my LinkedIn account, Hugh Massie in Atlanta. I'm the only one with that name in Atlanta in this area, so it's pretty. And then there's lots of postings there and on our website for people to learn a lot about this.
Fantastic. All right, Hugh, we'll put all those links into the show notes about your books, about your website, and about your LinkedIn profile as well. And we thank you very much for joining us today.
It's been great, Gabe. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Money Seed Podcast. Please remember to click like and subscribe. It really helps spread the message to other investors and it helps attract new viewers to the show. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much.